This week on the Just Press Play podcast, the guys react to a full Sunday of NFL football. Dad talks a little bit about his fantasy draft. Then we get into a little bit of everything. Andrew Siciliano's ears, the hardship of being a fan, the Browns being the Browns, and the issues between Le'Veon Bell and that offensive line. I think I have a theory on that one. And then we get into a little college football, the U.S. Open, and before we go, we touch on Mac Miller and the news over the weekend. All right, let's get to it. All right, here we are. It's week one, NFL Sunday, Pops. I mean, I know you've had a big week. It's good to have you back. We're missing one. I feel like we've been saying that a lot. We're missing LJ, but just what's up, Pops?
Are we a bipod then? I mean, Is that what we are?
We're not. Well, if we're a tripod, we're a fallen tripod. So I guess we right now we are the Just Press Play bipod of the week.
The bipod. Yeah. Okay. What question did you ask me before I got on the bipod?
Even without LJ, this bipod is brought to you, of course, by MyBookie, and I'll update you on a little bit. I had three bets this week. I bet on three separate things, and I also parlayed the three to see how it would do. It wasn't a terrible week. It could have been better, but you know who I bet it with. I bet it with MyBookie, and MyBookie.ag is by far the best place to bet with if you're going to be betting at all during the NFL season or college football season.
Right.
And they got good parlays. They got different fantasy stuff. They got over-unders, total points. It's anything you could wish for. But if you're going to be betting, MyBookie's the way to go. But what you put some money down this week, didn't you? You just now had your fantasy draft this weekend, right?
Yeah, we had the draft Saturday night. We did a little different than some. We actually draft after the first game is played. So if you picked, for instance, Julio Jones, you got the points that he scored Thursday night. But so that's, you just know that you've got those points, but moving forward, whatever. So you might pick Devontae Freeman, knowing he didn't score a lot of points Thursday night, but you think he may score for the rest of the year. So anyway, it really doesn't seem to bother our draft too much, and it's just worked out for us that we do it the weekend after the first Thursday night game is when we can all get together and do our draft.
And, of course, Thursday Night Football, like it always is, and this was at the beginning of the season, so the teams had to prepare for it, but it seemed like a big old mess when Atlanta played the defending champs, Philadelphia. There was a bunch of field goals. Teams couldn't score in the red zone. Atlanta still doesn't know how to get the ball to Julio Jones. They can do it between the 20s, but once they get inside the 20, they just can't find a way to get to him. It still baffles me.
It's not for lack of trying, it seems like, though. It looked to me like Julio Jones, they were going to – now, I mean, I may be completely disagreeing with you, but it seemed like to me at the end of the game where I started paying attention more, they were trying to shove the ball to Julio Jones any way they could. And, I mean, kind of like you would do with Larry Fitzgerald. It just didn't matter. This is where we're going with the ball. And, you know, one of the last plays, I think it was really high, and he would have been the only one that could have caught it.
And he did catch it. He just landed out of bounds.
And landed out of bounds. That's right. I was going to say I could get confused with that damn receiver for Colorado State that made some amazing plays against Arkansas Saturday.
We'll get into that in just a second.
Yeah, sorry for that quick digression, but I remember that guy. I'm drafting him next year first in fantasy.
Yeah, for sure.
Jeez.
No, I agree with you. It wasn't due to lack of trying to get Julio the ball at the end, but it just was like, and we won't go too far on this because this got killed all day on Friday. But anyway, Sarkisian looks like ever since Kyle Shanahan has left Atlanta, it looks like that offense is lost. And I don't know, Sarkisian doesn't look like he knows what he's doing. And they got into the red zone, the very first possession of the game. They got right into the red zone, right on the goal line, and this was their monkey on their back coming into the year. It's like, we have to be better in the red zone. And they run a jumbo package 3 straight times with no Julio Jones gets them all the way down the field, and then they run this jumbo package 4 straight plays with no Julio and just run it right at them, and Philly stuffs them all 4 times. And so you're like, why would you not even put Julio in? And then late in the game, like you're saying, like the last chance they got down on the goal line again, and they just need to score a touchdown and they win. And I think they were down by 4, and they have 6 different tries because Philadelphia actually ends up getting a penalty, and they throw it to Julio 4 straight times out of the same possession. They just try the same thing 4 times in a row. It's just like, I understand. It's just like from one extreme to the other. One possession, Julio Jones doesn't even touch the field, and then the next he's in there the whole time. And then the defense doesn't even have to, like, it's not even chess or checkers. It's just, we're just going to try the same thing 4 times and see what happens.
What is that series on Amazon Prime, All or Nothing? That's what it was.
Yeah.
I mean, it was all or nothing with Julio. So, yeah, I agree. They have to do something different. But so anyway, we did our draft, and then certainly we watched the first week of games. There were a few surprises that I saw in the first week, the first Sunday of games.
Real quick, I want to point out, I think it is by far the stat of the week, and it was after. I mean, first off, shout out to the Redzone Channel, and I think we're both Redzone Channel, like the ticket people, like Andrew Siciliano. I know Scott Hansen does the NFL Network Redzone Channel, which is very similar. I think it's the same thing, just a different network, but Siciliano's my guy. His big old ears. I mean, there's nothing better than a Sunday full of just watching him flip through games, and then like
he got some Dumbo ears, doesn't he? I mean, he's got some serious. I bet he can hear well. Golly,
I mean, he might be listening to the podcast now, like as we are recording it. He might be able to hear us, but
I think NASA uses him to listen to outer space. I mean, wow.
But I love him, man. I love sitting there. He spends the afternoon with me just watching the games, and he jumps from game to game. And there's not a much better feeling, especially like if you're a fantasy team. Like say you were to have, I don't know, just say you were to have like Ezekiel Elliott as your running back. When it pops up on that little corner, update next, Cowboys and Panthers, you just get excited. Like you're like, oh, did my running back score? Did he fumble? What happened? And then they show it, and it's cool. It's fun to watch. But
well, let me just say one thing, interject. I bet there wasn't a lot of pop-ups from highlights from the Dallas-Carolina game today.
No, there wasn't a lot, especially from the Dallas offense. I will tell you this. I don't wish upon anyone to be a combination of a Razorback and Cowboy fan, because man, especially
looking
this
like
year,
a long season.
It might be a tough year. So
yeah,
and we won't get too far into the Razorbacks blowing their game against Colorado State or the Cowboys. Just their offense looked inept. Besides one possession where they get a touchdown, but for the most part, it was. I think they converted. Like before Sunday Night Football came on, they showed all of the Cowboys' third down conversions, which was 2 the entire game.
Didn't take long.
It was rough. I mean, it was just bad.
Well, can I ask you one question on that game though?
Yeah, go ahead.
Just one. So you've got wasn't there like 2:15 left? You're the Cowboys. You have 4th and 10. You've got the 2-minute warning and all 3 timeouts. You've got the ball 4th and 10 on what your own 46 or something like that,
near midfield,
and you go for it. And why? Because Dak Prescott's running around like, I mean, a nervous man, because he just didn't get much time. And, of course, we didn't complete the pass, so we turned the ball over. I think we did hold them. They punted, or I don't know. I got irritated at that, and I started kind of putting my clothes away from this weekend, blah, blah, blah. But then I saw we got the ball back, and then we fumbled, and they got it. And I just said, the heck with it, and I quit watching. But what don't you agree? If you've got 4th and 10 on your own side of the field, just a little bit, you've got the 2-minute warning and all 3 timeouts, don't you pin them down, stop them, and get the ball back? I think that's what you do.
I mean, with Chris Jones at punter, we have a good punter who's very capable of pinning them in deep with the Cowboys, and you have 3 timeouts and the 2-minute warning. The defense had played good all game. They really hadn't. That was not the issue. Was the defense? The issue was the offense. And to bet it all on that, you're basically betting it all on one play instead of betting on the defense. It won't be it's not the first, and it won't be the last that Jason Garrett makes a questionable play call. And as we just mentioned, I think it could be a long year to be a Dallas Cowboy and Arkansas Razorback fan.
I agree with you.
Completely. I will say so. The stat of the week was from Bill Barnwell of ESPN. He tweeted this out. You might have seen the Browns got so close to unlocking those Bud Light refrigerators where they have those like locked Bud Light refrigerators. And if they win, then Bud Light's going to unlock them and fans can have as many beers as they want. And they were so close to unlocking those things. They end up tying with the Steelers 21-21. I will say I'm happy about that. I bet the under on that game. The total was 42.5. And I went with the under. It ended up being 42. So
wow.
So I just saw all the rain, and so we went with it, and it looked like it wasn't going to happen. But so since the Browns had 5+ takeaways in the game against the Steelers, Big Ben threw, I think, 4 interceptions, and James Conner fumbled once, filling in for Le'Veon Bell. And it was a game in which they ended up tying, as we just mentioned. But since the Browns joined the NFL, teams with a turnover margin of +5 or better are 132, 4-1. They've lost 4 and tied 1 out of all 135 times that's happened. The Browns are responsible for 2 of the losses, 2 of the 4 losses. So half of the losses of those, and then the 1 tie. So out of 135 times a team has turned the ball or had 5+ takeaways, they've either tied or lost 5 times, and the Browns are part of 3 of those.
3. Wow.
It's just the Browns are going to Browns. It's just what's going to happen. Ever since I've been alive, the Browns are just going to Browns. I don't know how else to say it.
They're going to Browns.
So I don't. We've mentioned how it's tough to be a Cowboys or Razorback fan, but man, you could be a Browns fan.
You could be you could be a Cleveland Browns fan, right?
They were. If you saw the screenshot or after the game, they showed the crowd. The crowd was going nuts that they tied. Like they were going nuts that they were sitting there, waited in the rain for 3.5 hours. It was pouring down rain, and they were just pumped that they tied. And that's got to be tough. Tie's supposed to suck, and they were just pumped they didn't lose. So they won't. Hugh Jackson won't go 0-16.
Maybe they like to kiss their sister in Cleveland. I don't know. I don't know.
I will say so. I think it was clear after watching that game and then many other games that the penalty that is going to drive people crazy, it's not going to be the helmet penalty because that wasn't even called. I think it was called once with the you don't say a Cincinnati Bengals player hit Andrew Luck head-to-head targeting, got kicked out of the game. The Bengals are just synonymous for doing stuff like that. But that rule really wasn't a factor in today's game. The rule that was a huge factor was it's the roughing the passer rule, but the new rule is if you hit him, like so say you go to tackle the quarterback either while he still has it or right after he throws it, you can't drive a quarterback into the ground.
Right.
And if you watch, it happened with the Browns game. That's why it made me think of it. It happened. Myles Garrett went to hit Big Ben, and it was right as he threw it, clean hit. But the problem is after the ball was released, Myles Garrett essentially what I felt like he was penalized for is he didn't let his hands go and just let his body go, and he finished the tackle. And you can't finish the tackle and land with, I believe what they said is landing on the quarterback with all of your body weight. That is the penalty. And I just think that is going to be a mess throughout this whole season. I saw it 4 times today, and it's going to be a mess. And I don't know what you want these guys to do. I mean, you're telling them to go 100% and rush the quarterback, and then right as he throws it, not only do you need to make sure your head is situated right, which a lot of these guys did, but then you also need to make sure where you're landing and whether your hands go up or whether they're wrapped around him. It just was a mess. What do you think?
Well, I mean, I didn't see those plays, but I know I've seen some guys sack a quarterback where it's obvious they make sure that the full force of their weight is crashing down on their shoulder or whatever. Right. And I'm not against trying to reduce that. I mean, tackle the guy, finish the play, and I didn't see these. I probably need to see some of these tackles you're talking about, some of these penalties. I'm all for tackling. I mean, and you finish the tackle. But I think I could tell the difference between trying to drive into a quarterback's shoulder and hurt him. I mean, there's a difference between tackling somebody, a damn good tackle, and trying to hurt somebody.
Well, so as you say that, the first thing that comes to mind is last year when and maybe this is kind of how the rule got created, was when Aaron Rodgers got hurt against the Vikings when he broke his collarbone. And you could see Anthony Barr sacked him, and clearly, it wasn't a sack. He threw it, and clearly Anthony Barr kind of lifts his leg up and drives his shoulder into the ground, and that's what ended up breaking his collarbone. So they're trying to get rid of that, but it's easy to see in slow motion. But these guys are going so fast, and not only are you telling them to watch their head, but you're also saying whether you land on your body weight or you try not to. It goes so fast, and these quarterbacks are scrambling a lot of times, like Big Ben was scrambling when Myles Garrett hit him. It's so tough.
I guess I know it's tough, but I think where you're going to see that begin to come into play is in the coaching, in the practice. When you're teaching a guy how to tackle, I know, it's been a long time, but I know that there were some coaches that were more aggressive, like you're trying to hurt this guy. And there were other coaches that weren't like that. They're just trying to say, just make a tackle. And so I think I hear what you're saying, and I know the football purists are definitely going to go, good God, that is football. Give me a break.
Yeah.
But I also know that you can coach differently. And so I think what the NFL maybe is trying to do is saying, prepare your guys differently, coach differently. Don't coach them to drive their shoulders into the ground. Teach them to tackle, teach them to hit hard, but don't coach them that way. Because most of football is instinct. It's not, you're right. You're not thinking at that second, get my head here or there or whatever. It's instinct on what you've been taught over and over and over again in practice. So if you're taught over and over and over again in practice, look up, see what you hit, put your helmet to the side, hit with your shoulder. That will become instinctual. And I think we will be able to see less injuries. I don't want Aaron Rodgers injured. I'm telling you. And I guarantee who is the Green Bay Packers that paid him $33.5 million a year, $2 million a game. Don't want him injured. I know somebody else that doesn't want him injured. Roger Goodell in the NFL. People want to see that guy play.
Heck, tonight you're watching to prove your point. The Packers. We're recording this Sunday night, but the Packers are playing the Bears on Sunday night, and the Bears just traded for Khalil Mack. They look like they're on the upswing. But with Rodgers playing, I'm tuned in. I want to watch that game. If Rodgers isn't playing, if someone asks me to go eat or go watch a movie, I'll think about it. I'm probably going to watch the game, but a lot of fans are going to go, oh, Rodgers didn't play, and it's going to be Deshaun Kaiser. Okay. So
exactly.
Anyone wants the bet. I want to have more games with Aaron Rodgers playing than not, 100%. So I agree with what you're saying, and maybe long-term it's a fix. But, man, it just seems like you're asking so much of these defensive players to rush the passer, try to get there, and this is one of the most important positions on the field. Try to get there, and then once you get there,
and then let up.
And then let up. Yeah, it's just once you get there, be careful. Don't hit them too hard. It just is man.
They're somewhere between putting a tutu on the quarterback and jacking him up, and we've got to find that middle ground between ballerina shoes and jacked up. And that's what we're looking for. And I applaud the NFL for trying. They got to try something, or the game's not going to continue to exist in its present format. So we got to do something, Kevin. I hear you. I feel it. I feel it from the purest point of view. And you probably thought I would go a different direction. You thought I'd be the old purist.
Sure. Yeah.
But I want football. I love it. I want it to continue to be around. And so changes have to be made, or it's just not going to be around.
Wow, interestingly, as we're recording this won't be breaking news to anyone else listening, but my TV is on, so I can see there's no sound, but Aaron Rodgers is down, and it looks like he's holding his knee. He just got hit, and it looks like he's holding his knee. It doesn't look good. The NFL is cringing. Anyway, we'll move on because we have no idea what it is. He might have a cramp. I don't know. But moving on to, and I want to get our last little bit here on the NFL before we move on. There's a couple things I noticed with some celebrations, which the NFL made a good decision last year. They did this where they allowed the teams to have a little more fun and the teams could celebrate together. And I will say that is a very solid move by them because it lets us get to see when Andrew Luck, which it was good to see Andrew Luck back playing finally. It's been a long time since he was on the field, but he threw a touchdown to Eric Ebron. And I think I'll try to post it in the show notes, but it was the worst celebration I've ever seen. I don't know what they were going for. I don't know what they were doing, but it was just – it looked ridiculous. But it was fun. It was fun. It was funny. And before the NFL would have called a penalty on it. And then there was another celebration that was interesting, and I kind of wanted to get into this topic with you a little bit, was after James Conner scored the first touchdown, he ran a touchdown in for the Steelers. The offensive line was over the top. They went and, like, grabbed him and celebrated with him. And Marquise Pouncey, among others, with Ramon Foster, they went out of their way to celebrate with him. And it almost seemed like they were trying to give a shot to
Le'Veon Bell.
To one, a said player who may be at home watching instead of playing in the game. And we talked about it briefly before we got on, but the offensive line kind of took shots at Le'Veon Bell for missing the game. And just, what do you think? I mean, there's something brewing over there in Pittsburgh, I feel like, and it's not good.
I do too, but I think, honestly, that my base
do you pick a
setting
side
on this, I would just tend to think that what I've seen in the NFL, it usually is you don't talk about money. If a guy's trying to get his money, you let him try to get his money. And we've seen, we don't know what's happening to Rodgers, and we probably need to quit mentioning it because it will be old news by the time this gets out. But your career can be over in one play. In one play. Le'Veon Bell is 27. He's got, 30-year-old running backs don't do very well, although AP had a pretty good day today. Oh, by the way, he's on my fantasy team.
That guy doesn't
nobody
age.
Cares that but me.
He doesn't age.
But so you can, but by and large, you better make hay while the sun shines. And I know he's getting $14.4 million, which is an amazing amount of money. But what's Gurley getting now? What is David Johnson getting now? He needs to be on par with those guys. I think he actually is making a little more on his franchise tag than David Johnson.
But David Johnson gets guaranteed $30 million.
But he's guaranteed $39 million, I think, yes. And 30 of it is guaranteed. Le'Veon Bell, if he gets hurt, he's making this 14.4 this year, and he's done.
And he might get a contract, but it won't be a big deal. And he hasn't got that big deal yet. He's been franchised a bunch. And it's the position, like you mentioned, like Kirk Cousins could kind of bet on himself because quarterback's a little less vulnerable. Running back is the most vulnerable position in all of sports, maybe. I mean, you're literally just sprinting into these men who are trying to hit you as hard as possible. And so it's interesting. We talked about how you don't talk about another man's money. That's like, I've never been in the NFL locker room, but that's from everything I've ever heard. That's the thing. Guys hold out. It happens all the time, but you don't talk about another man's money. And actually, interestingly, LJ is the reason me and him had a conversation. And he brought up something that I think he is hit the nail on the head on why this is all happening. I think Le'Veon Bell fully intended on doing his holdout, and much like last year, he would show up to camp or show up to the regular season and be ready by maybe Wednesday at the latest this previous week and be ready to play week one.
Yep.
And he was, and I think the players knew that. Like, he had been in contact because he's still. Some of the guys talk to him, whether it's Marquise Pouncey or Antonio Brown. Like, guys, they talk, and I think probably this is just kind of me guessing, and LJ kind of put this thought in my head, but I bet he talked with him and was like, "Yeah, Wednesday I'll be there," because there was one point on Monday they kept asking Steelers players, and Marquise Pouncey was like, "Yeah, we'll see. Wednesday, he'll be here Wednesday. I bet he'll be here by Wednesday." And then Wednesday came and went, and that's when you heard the players finally say something. I think Bell fully intended on being there, and the offensive line fully were like, we'll just play along with this because we'll know you'll be here. Hopefully you get your money, but when business is business, you'll be here. And then Le'Veon Bell saw last Saturday how Jerick McKinnon tore an ACL on a non-contact practice before they were even in the game, and I think he kind of hit the real. It realized to him it could be one play, and all of a sudden I go from the best running back in the game that maybe can reset the narrative on how much running backs get paid, or one play away, and it could even be a play where I don't even get hit, a non-contact play in practice, and I become the aging running back who's coming off a torn ACL. And
right.
the dip in pay gap goes maybe 30 guaranteed million to 15 because now he's an ACL. He's coming off an ACL. And I don't blame him, but I think what happened was the miscommunication. The guys all thought he was coming back, and then he just was like, man, I got to make a business decision. And now he's doing what's best for him, I think. And that means missing out on, I think, $156,000 today on Sunday. Like, I lost my bet on my bookie bet, and I had a parlay going with those teams. I lost $10 plus the $10 I had separately on the Broncos to beat Seattle. Le'Veon Bell lost $156,000,
No.
almost $1 million today.
No. Le'Veon, $856,000.
Yes, that's what I meant.
Today, right. He missed a game check today, which was 850 and
something like
50,000 and change. But I mean, but so you said, and this he'll probably get a better contract than David Johnson, who had $30 million guaranteed.
Guaranteed.
So you're saying maybe I sit out a year and I get $30 million guaranteed. I get 14.4 for this year. What's the better deal? I understand what he's doing. I do think you're on the right track. I think the offensive line feels a little bit like they were let down or kept out of the line of communication. But I would tend not to talk about a man and his money. I don't know. We don't know enough about that situation really to have a take on this. But I think Le'Veon Bell trying to get paid is understandable because I think he's the best running back in the game, period. Yeah. I think he is the best running back in the game. And that's with Gurley. That's with Johnson. That's with whoever you want to bring up. I think Le'Veon Bell is the best. So he ought to get paid like the best.
Do you have any more football talks before we get into a little other conversations?
I mean, I guess there's a few things I noticed. I'd bring up. I noticed in the Tennessee game, Dion Lewis. There was some talk, Derrick Henry or Dion Lewis, who's going to be the guy there. Dion Lewis rushed 16 times for 75 yards to Derrick Henry's 10 for 26. And then also caught 5 passes for 35. Looks like Dion Lewis.
Dion Lewis was the best player on New England's offense last year, minus Gronk and Brady, really.
Yeah, so I'm not sure why they let him go. Joe Mixon looks like the guy at Cincinnati. Catching the ball and rushing.
Looked good.
He looked pretty good. Patrick Rivers put up, 424 yards and 3 TDs
Phillip
today.
Rivers or Patrick Mahomes?
Rivers.
Which one? You said Patrick Rivers.
Mahomes put up. Oh, did I? Well, I meant Phillip Rivers, but Patrick Mahomes had 4 TDs, I think.
But speaking of that game, yes. Is there how amazing is it to see Tyreek Hill running an open field? There's not many times you're watching an NFL game, which is the best athletes in all of the world playing football, and he just looks on a whole different level as far as speed. It blows by people.
Yeah. The phrase, you're not going to catch him, applies to Tyreek Hill.
His first touch, he touched the ball on a punt return, his first touch, and took it like 85 yards for a touchdown. And then he had to go. He is so fast. Like Mahomes, that offense is going to be fun. Man.
Those guys, that puts fear in a whole defense. You have got to watch because if he gets behind you, that's
gone.
That's
if
6.
No. If he gets equal with you, he's gone.
He's gone.
If he's within 5 yards of you, he's gone. It's wild. And there's not many times you can see a guy like you see it in college every now and then, like DeAnthony Thomas a few years back at Oregon or Trenton Holiday way back in the day at LSU. You see these guys that are just faster than everyone they're playing with. There's not often you see a guy on the NFL level who is simply faster than everyone else on the field. And I agree with you. That game was fun to watch. Mahomes and that offense with Tyreek Hill being that fast, I think they're going to be fun to watch. I don't know how many games they win, but they'll be fun to watch for sure.
They'll be fun to watch. Something I wish LJ was around here, but who's Philip Lindsay?
Philip Lindsay. It looked like Terrell Davis ran a touchdown in earlier today.
Who is this guy? I think he's a Colorado guy.
He was from Aurora, Colorado. He actually went to like this Denver Broncos camp when he was like 12 years old. It was really cool. And were you on when we mentioned that he called Terrell Davis to ask if he could be 30? Because he wore 30 throughout his...
this was who you were talking about.
Yes.
Okay, I didn't pick up on that. Okay.
So he wore number 30 throughout...
I looked at the stat line today.
Yeah, well, he wore number 30 throughout high school and college, and because he grew up watching Terrell Davis. And love Terrell Davis. And then he got drafted by the Broncos. So, like, dream come true. And then after the preseason, once he realized he made the team, like LJ mentioned, he didn't even have to play the 4th preseason game because they were like, this guy's making our roster. He's already in. So then he calls up Terrell Davis and asks, can I wear number 30? First off, the set of the pair you have to have between your legs to call. He's from Denver, Colorado, and he's going to call up Terrell Davis and say, can I wear number 30 in a Broncos jersey as a rookie? That takes a set.
Well,
and then
but that shows tremendous respect,
right.
which means something. So,
and Terrell Davis was like, he said it's about time that we dust off the old 3-0. I would proud to have this young man wear my jersey. And then week 1 has a great week. I think he catches like a 30-yard touchdown. LJ told us when I mentioned this story to LJ, he was just like, he knew who Philip Lindsay was. He didn't know the Terrell Davis thing. But as soon as I said Philip Lindsay, he was like, well, I don't want to get on a big tangent because I know I'm probably the only person that's watching the Broncos' 4th preseason game. But this guy's really good. I'm just saying, he's really good.
I think that might have been about the time I went home or so.
Yeah, I was just like, I think the 3rd running back for the Cowboys is pretty good too. But then this Lindsay guy catches a touchdown. It was really cool.
Yeah. Well, so that impressed me, and I didn't make the connection until now that's who we were talking about.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought it up because I was going to forget, but yeah.
Wow, that's very cool. I'm definitely rooting for him, and I thought Royce Freeman was going to be the guy there, but boy, Philip and Royce Freeman had some carries, but Philip Lindsay's going to definitely be a part of that backfield. And then finally, Dixon and Collins. I thought Alex Collins at Baltimore was supposed to be the guy, but Dixon carried the ball almost twice as many times.
Yeah, Kenneth Dixon, which has been a guy they like. He's just been injured a lot.
Yes. So, and then the last thing was at New England, Dorsett. Dorsett had 7 for 66 in the TD. He was the leading receiver. Hogan had 1 reception. Now, I didn't see the game. Anything can happen.
Right.
And this is week 1. But it was just interesting to see some of the guys read the box scores, and those are some of the things that stood out to me so far.
Well, so it's funny. I was gonna throw out something I was gonna call the you don't says, and it's just those things that happen on NFL Sunday that anyone could have predicted. So we mentioned it earlier, but the Bengals had the only player that was kicked out for targeting because he hit Andrew Luck head to head. What you don't say, and then. The Patriots, the other 2 are both in New England, where the Patriots, they scored in the final 2 minutes of the second half, or in the first half. They got the ball with like 2 minutes left, a little bit and change. And, of course, they ran the clock perfectly. They end up scoring a touchdown with like 17 seconds left because the Patriots just always score at the end of the half. They're just so good at it. And then the other one was in New England too, where Tom Brady, I think it's just a given, 4th and short, that man is going to quarterback sneak it, and he's going to end up getting it. He'll 4th and 1, he'll get 2. That's all he's going to get. But by God, I bet he gets it.
Well, New England, here's the deal. The other thing in the Dallas game, I think, did they have 2 delay of game penalties in a row or something like that? I mean, here's my point. Coaching, you may not be physically as good as the other team. You might have physical limitations. Just think the game. Do the right thing. Practice. Don't make coaching mistakes.
One of the announcers, I wish I knew their name. It wasn't one of the games I really liked. I watched my boy Tony Romo announcing again today, and I still just love him calling a game. But another guy had a really good point. I think that was the guy calling the Browns and Steelers game, and the Browns had a lot of penalties. But the thing he was critiquing was not necessarily penalties you have during a play, because you get those pass interference where shit happens, or roughing the passer where you just it's a tough rule. You landed with your full body weight or whatever, or holding where you just grabbed him. But it was he was labeling off pre-snap penalties, and that's what you don't see from the Patriots. You don't see delay a game and false start and offsides, but with the Cowboys, you see all of them. You see false starts, you see delay of games, you see. And the Browns are the same way, and that is coaching. They preach to you to not shoot yourself in the foot. You're going to have holding penalties. That's going to happen. There's holding on every damn play.
Timeouts to keep from getting a delay of game penalty.
Because you can't get a playoff because you can't look at the clock.
Yes, if you physically can't handle the guy across from you, that's one thing. Don't be stupid. Be a mentathlete at least. Be mentally able to.
Just mentally don't beat yourself. Don't beat yourself mentally. There's one thing you can control, and that's being mentally there.
Kevin, so it's funny. I'm going to say this, but so I'm going to bring up golf. Y'all can do the little thing, whatever. But,
I wish LJ gave me the golf clip.
I wish he did. But the thing is, I know I can't always hit the ball exactly where I want, but I should at least mentally decide I want to be below the hole to put uphill, or or whatever. I want to at least think where am I trying to go, and then if I have physical limitations, well, some of that I can't help, but at least mentally have a picture of what I'm trying to do, and so that's what we've dubbed that mentathlete. We're trying to be at least mentathletes, if not athletes. So,
well, and I know we're getting on a tangent, and anyone who's stuck around with us so far, it's the first Sunday of football, and this is rapid reaction. I mean, it is 8:30. We just got done watching a full day of games, and we're just kind of reacting on the fly. So I hope people are enjoying it. But you mentioned in that game, one of the things on the stat line that stuck out to you was Philip Dorsett, and he was really good. He was running good routes, and he looked athletic. And it was a guy – it's just funny to me. He was a guy that the Colts drafted first in the first round a few years back, and he just flailed out. He never worked out for him. And the Patriots traded for him. They traded Jacoby Brissett, who actually might be a good backup quarterback and someone you might need since your quarterback's 50 years old or whatever Tom Brady is now.
Mm-hmm.
But Philip Dorsett is another guy that another team took in the first round, and he didn't really work out there, but then all of a sudden you get in Tom Brady and Bill Belichick and Josh McDaniels' system, and you look good. Another guy is Cordero Patterson. For years, we remember him getting drafted in the first round and just thought, this guy's so good. If you can get him the ball, he's going to be so good. And he flailed out at 4 different teams. I mean, he went to the Vikings, couldn't figure it out. He had moments, but the Vikings couldn't figure it out. The Raiders couldn't figure it out. I think he played for there was another team I can't mention, but all those teams could figure out was this guy is just a return man. We don't know how he works. And the Patriots and Romo fit it perfectly. Romo was calling that game, and he said the Patriots learned that this guy, when you run him as a receiver and you have him running routes, he's just not that effective. But if you get the ball in his hands, he's a good player. So the Patriots are running these little bubble screens, they're running these reverses, and he's a productive player. And you just know – why are the Patriots the only team that it's like they're playing freaking chess and everyone else is playing checkers out there? It's so frustrating.
Yeah. They're mentathletes. They're at least going to mentally be prepared. Anyway, I hear you.
And I want to move on a little bit. I want to touch on just a little bit of college football, just because I watched a ton of it. I know you were doing your draft, so you probably didn't have a lot of time to get to it. Besides, you may have watched the Razorbacks, which I'm sorry if you did, especially the second half. But there's one thing that was I noticed this weekend watching some college football that really just I couldn't get over is there is talent-wise, there is Alabama, and I know Clemson was tough with A&M. It was a really close game. But there's Alabama, there's Clemson, and there's Georgia. The talent level that those 3 teams have to the next one, it just is unreal. I mean, they are at every position. There's NFL players lined up, and then when they bring their backups in, it is unreal the gap between what Alabama and Clemson and Georgia are, and then what teams like even a good team you see in LSU, or you see other teams that you think Ohio State. They're not even close to me. And then the closest one would be maybe Oklahoma, and I know we've mentioned before, and I'm hoping to maybe dive into it a couple weeks from now, but Kyler Murray for Oklahoma looks like the real deal. I mean, he looks like a little mini Johnny Manziel. And I know there's a baseball franchise out in Oakland that wants him to quit taking snaps because they were playing him when they were up 42-7, and he just looks amazing. Oklahoma's got so much talent. But it's just wild to me. The top teams in college football have way, way more talent across the board than any other program, and it's wild.
Man, I wished I could have watched some college football. I barely got to watch the Arkansas game, and it, again, was disappointing. So I did see A&M was really close to Clemson. I think they played Clemson.
Yeah, that was a really good game. The Jimbo Fisher rebuild looks like it's happening in a hurry. Yeah. I want to get on to some other sports real quick before we do. There's another thing that caught my mind, but real quick. And we mentioned at the top, but as we said, MyBookie is the presenting sponsor of the Just Press Play podcast. And if you're gonna bet on any sport, let alone whether it's the WNBA finals going on right now, or the U.S. Open that just finished, or the Ryder Cup that's about to come up with golf, or NFL, you need to be playing with MyBookie. You play, you win, and they pay. And actually, right now, if you're a listener of our pod, which first off, shout out to you, you're a good person. But if you're a listener of our pod, you go to mybookie.ag. That's spelled BOOKIE. If you go to mybookie.ag and put in the promo code JPP, they will match whatever you put in for the free play. So you can put in up to $1,000 and they'll match $1,000. And you just play with it how you want. You can bet it all in one game if you're feeling ballsy, or do like I do and try to spread it out with a bunch of different parlays and stuff. But they are by far the best out when it comes to, or the best play when it comes to betting on any game. But so I wanted to get to the U.S. Open. I don't know if you caught any of the U.S. Open, Dad.
I did not.
But there was Naomi Osaka, a 20-year-old Japanese woman, beat Serena Williams, the GOAT. Not only is she the GOAT of tennis, she might be the best athlete of all time. Like, she's right there with the Muhammad Ali.
She's in the conversation.
Michael Jordans.
Yeah, no doubt.
I mean, she is one of the best. And it was a very controversial end, and I'll get to that in a second. But I just want to bring up, this was 20-year-old. I'll play it for you, Dad. This was 20-year-old Naomi Osaka after she advanced in the semifinals to get to the finals to play Serena Williams. And the great Tom Rinaldi asked her what was her thoughts before she won the semifinals to get to Serena Williams. And this is what she said.
13 break points faced, 13 saved. How did you do that?
This is going to sound really bad, but I was just thinking I really want to play Serena.
And perhaps, given how much it was in your mind and how much you said you wanted it, a message to Serena.
I love you.
Her message to Serena Williams was, I love you. That it might not be the most intimidating thing, but man, it was so cool to see that. That's literally, so she's 20 years old, and Serena's been the best tennis player for at least a decade plus, probably 15 years. And she was just getting the chance to play her idol.
Right.
And it was just, that was such a cool moment that happened after the game. And she was just like, they asked, to ask her, what was your thoughts after you had 13 straight break points in a row to advance? She was like, I just really wanted to play Serena. That's what drove me. I wanted to play my idol. It was so cool.
No, it was. And I think that was the utmost respect. She was like, much respect to Serena. And no, it was beautiful. That was very cool.
It was so cool. And so the U.S. Open in the championship round, Serena ended up losing because she got penalized 3 times. She took a third penalization, and we're not huge tennis people, so we're not going to try to break into it. There's a lot said on that, whether she got penalized more than a man would have, and that's a whole different topic, and I encourage anyone to go look at it. Her comments after the match was amazing, but we're not big tennis people. But I just thought that moment before, just Osaka just wanting to play Serena so bad, it was so cool. If we did a best and worst this week, that would have been my best, no doubt, because it was just cool to see a 20-year-old just living in the moment. It was awesome.
Yeah, and so honest and open about it, how her feelings. That was very cool. Very cool.
All right, well, I wanna wrap up how we always do, and this is a bit of a somber moment. I didn't want to bring it up at the top because this is a tough one. Let's go to what we're listening to. And do you have a what we're listening to for this week?
No, not really. I listened to a lot of music on the golf course this weekend with my buddies, hanging out. But okay, yes I do. Paradise by the Dashboard Lights by Meatloaf. That's what I was listening to. Paradise by the Dashboard Lights by Meatloaf.
The name alone just blew me away. The music may or may not be good, but the name was interesting.
You've never heard that song? I bet you will when I put it on the site. You probably heard it.
Maybe. I'll hit the show notes and I'll listen, but I don't feel like I've ever heard of him. But I'll go. So for what we're listening to, it's been a tough weekend, man. So Friday afternoon, rapper Mac Miller passed away due to an overdose, and there's been plenty of celebrities pass away. Shoot, just this year there's been a lot of celebrities pass away. It seems like every year there's a lot, but I remember, so like Burt Reynolds passed away here recently, rest in peace, and then Aretha Franklin, and I remember seeing stuff. I'll get on Twitter or Facebook and I see people reacting, and it really affects them. And then I remember specifically, when Prince passed away, and I remember how much that affected you. And I thought, it did affect me a little bit, but it was just, more paying my respects to someone who really revolutionized music and was a great. And same with Michael Jackson. Like, I understood why people felt that way, but I didn't feel the same way. When Mac Miller passed away, that was tough. And I think it's interesting. Not interesting. It's thought provoking, because I think a lot of people older than people my generation, they would have got on Facebook or Twitter and saw pictures of Mac Miller and saw a 26-year-old who's tatted up and died from an apparent overdose. And their first thought is, why are all these young kids, like, why are they mourning someone who died because he did something dumb? And it honestly feels like it feels like we lost a friend. Like, I grew up in 2011 when I was 17. Mac Miller was just blowing up on the scene as he was 18, and he had different mixtapes where he was just the kid. He was being dumb and silly and having fun, and he rapped a lot about smoking weed and stuff. And then he went through the lulls of, like, his debut album kind of was critically killed because people basically just called him, like, he's the frat boy rapper. That's all he'll ever be. He's the next Asher Roth. He's not actually good. And then he really touched into his production side and started becoming like a real musician. Like, he started incorporating piano and bass and drums into his stuff, and it was amazing. Like, he sounded great. And then he went into a dark place where he was really having problems with drugs, and that was when he came out with Watching Movies with the Sound On and Delusional Thomas, and those were tough. I mean, you could tell this guy's dealing with some demons. And then just recently he came out with Swimming this year, and that album, it really felt like he battled some demons and he beat them, and he was on the up and up, and you heard it was a beautiful album. Anyone who hasn't listened to it, go listen to the Tiny Desk Concert. I know we've mentioned it before, but specifically the song 2009, and it seemed like a guy who saw death and saw the things that where his life was headed, and he learned how to be happy just with himself. And then this news, man, it just shows, like, we all think, people my age all think, we're young, we have so much life to live, and there's so much potential in us.
Yeah.
And not only did he show us that, no, you're not, and life is something you cannot take for granted, but he was someone who it seemed like he figured it out, and still the tragedy happened. And man, it's been a tough weekend. I think for me, a lot of people around my age, man, it feels like we lost a friend, man. And Mac Miller was really good.
If you don't mind me adding to that, I mean, you texted me that, and it did set me back a little bit because I just discovered him with the Tiny Desk Concert. And I will admit, kind of like you alluded to, I had to get a little bit past how he looks. I'm just being honest. I mean, he is so tatted up, and anyway, I had to get a little past how he looked. But when I did that, and I listened to that, 2009 was the song I was going to speak to as well, and saw how he did it, and kind of listened to it, I thought, wow, that's good stuff. I mean, It really is. And I mentioned to a couple of my buddies this weekend that Mac Miller died. And I'll tell you, in the circle I run in, they don't know who Mac Miller is, and neither would I without you guys. But it's a shame, man. And I just, anybody that's that age and listening, life is sweet and short and something to be cherished. And don't be stupid. Use your head. I don't know what happened to Mac Miller, but
right, we don't know, and
I don't know what happened. I'm not saying he was being stupid, but life's precious. Use your head. Take care of yourself. I mean, I think he had more to offer us, and that's it.
That's the understatement. I just you see the
sad.
outpouring of other musicians who knew him, and there's no one that everyone says like he was the funnest person, happiest person to be around, and clearly Mac Miller was dealing with some demons, and it seemed like he beat him. I know we're ending on a somber note, and we'll end on this. It's September 9th. Yep. It is LJ's birthday. It is the GOAT of Big Brothers. I'm telling you, they don't make Big Brothers better than LJ, and he is by far the best third leg of this tripod. The bipod's not near as good without him. LJ, we're thinking of you, man. Today is. I'm glad September 9th, 1989 happened. That was a good day.
It was a good day. I can remember it clearly, and he's the GOAT of firstborns, I guess you could say.
I'll tell you, man, that's a good dude. And he's actually right now, as we're recording this, he's out in Orlando, Florida. Him and Hannah, him and his wife are out there just having a good week with the kids they teach theater. And man, LJ's awesome. Shout out to you, LJ. If nothing else, if you don't listen to anything else on this podcast, just know LJ's as good as they come, man.
Love you too, L.
All right, and that'll do it for this week's episode. I really appreciate everyone tuning in, and like I said, me and Pops kind of went off the rails a little bit. We were just rapid reaction to some Sunday football. It's good to have football back in our lives. It'll be good when LJ's back with us, recording too, to kind of keep us on track, because I think we kind of got off subject. But it's been fun. Good to have you. Good to get to record with you, Pops. And as always, you can check our show notes at jpppod.com or find us on Twitter and Facebook. It's super easy. Just press play in the search and we'll pop up. And if you're going to gamble at all for football season, hit up my bookie. Type in that promo code JPP. Dad, you got anything else?
I think I'm out. I want to watch some football. So enjoyed it, Kev.
All right.
Happy birthday, L. Thank you.
Peace out.
Peace.